NASA is on course to return humans to the moon. This spring, Artemis 2, the first human phase of the mission, takes the next step in transporting us to Mars.
The most exciting aspect of this mission for me is the exploration we're doing is the first few steps on the path of getting humans to Mars.
Recent outbreaks of measles in the United States have put the spotlight on CDC changes to vaccine schedules that could have drastic effects on children's health.
Immunizing our children and babies is the top 10, is the most important thing I do day to day. So I hope that the public will trust the doctors and trust the science that they're safe and effective.
Despite current political rhetoric, media representation for Latino Americans is surging, causing a shift in both stereotypes and attitudes.
It's very important for young people especially to have a more well-rounded view of what different cultures are like.
All that and more coming up on Torch TV.
Hello and welcome back to Torch TV. I'm your host Marimoto and I'm joined today by Cadyn Goodlow. Cadyn, do you have any plans for spring break?
Yeah, I actually do. I'm gonna be making a lot of music.
It's pretty cool.
How about you?
I'm gonna go watch Hamilton Chicago with some friends.
Wow, that's crazy. Now let's hop right into this episode of Torch TV.
Spring break is coming up. It's Friday being our last day until March 23rd. Have a good week off. For anyone interested in participating in the East Show Choir, auditions are going to be held on March 24th. This Monday, Columbus East's Confidence Closet opened its doors for the first time. It is a permanent room at East that offers free professional wear and prom dresses for students. For more information or to donate clothes, talk to your team office or email Senior Sydney Johnson.
Now we'll head over to Adeline Bridges with this weekend's weather forecast.
Thanks, Cadyn. Today is partly sunny with a high of 60 and a low of 33. On Saturday, it'll be partly sunny with a high of 54 and a low of 44. There's also a slight chance of rain on Saturday night. Finally, on Sunday, there will be a massive change in the weather with a high of 74. It's predicted to drop 50 degrees that evening with a low of 28. There's a chance of snow Sunday evening as well. That's all for weather. Back to you at the desk.
Past the clouds and into the stars, we go to East Remy Chevalier to look towards NASA's Artemis 2 mission.
Thanks, Maria. Since the early 70s, general public interest in NASA and their efforts in space flight have been on a steady decline, with funding being limited from 4.5% of the total federal budget in the 60s to just under 0.5% as of 2020. They've been limited in what they were able to accomplish. But with Artemis 2, things are about to change.
3, 2, 1, fire.
More than 50 years after the last Apollo mission, NASA has set its sights on sending astronauts back toward the moon. Artemis 2 marks the critical step in humanity's return to space. Artemis 2 is the first crewed mission of the Artemis program. 4 NASA astronauts travel aboard the Orion spacecraft, powered by the SLS rocket, the most powerful rocket ever built. The mission takes the crew on a journey around the moon, carrying humans farther from Earth than they have traveled in decades. While the astronauts do not land on the lunar surface, the flight tests life support systems, navigation, and the heat shields, all key technology needed for future lunar missions. Unlike the Apollo missions of the past, Artemis focuses on long-term exploration. NASA aims to establish a sustained human presence on and around the moon, using it as a stepping stone for future missions to Mars. Artemis 2 also plays a vital role in preparing for Artemis 3, which is designed to return astronauts to the moon for the first time since 1972's Apollo 17 mission.
The most exciting aspect of this mission for me is the exploration we're doing is the first few steps on the path of getting humans to Mars, and I don't think that can be overstated. You know, pushing ourselves to explore is just core to who we are. That's a part of being a human.
For me, there's never really been a time when I didn't want to be an astronaut. Going back as far as I can remember, it's what I always dreamed of. I think the spark was really lit when I visited Kennedy Space Center with my family and came home with a bunch of posters that then went up on the walls of my bedroom and became the things that I dreamed of from then on.
I acknowledge my role as a teacher to be sure all my classes are aware of this Artemis II mission that's just around the corner. You know, as far as NASA, I still think they're doing all the right things. I've always been inspired by the work that NASA's done, right? You know, I grew up watching the space shuttle fly, and I remember, I don't know, just an immense sense of pride and yet curiosity every time that space shuttle went up. Yeah.
NASA has seen its Artemis II's launch window pushed back a few times, but the mission is still expected to fly this spring.
Right. Earlier this year, a critical practice countdown test was interrupted when engineers found a hydrogen leak and, more recently, a helium flow issue in the rocket's upper stage, which pushed the launch window out of February. Remy, what's the most interesting part about this mission for you?
Well, personally, the most interesting part about a mission like this would be the path it's setting for future missions to Mars. With Artemis II, nothing's more important than being able to test the rocket and flight systems on a long-duration space flight.
Thanks, Remy. It's definitely exciting to see what the future of space exploration could look like, especially with missions like Artemis II.
When we come back, we'll take a look at the possible effects of the reworked list of required vaccines.
And we'll talk about the exclusion of the Latin communities in American culture.
All that and more on Torch TV.
For local, national, and international news, we head to Wyatt Ayers.
Thanks, Cadyn. Senate Bill 78 is a recently passed piece of legislation that focuses on a full phone ban for Indiana schools. Other student-owned wireless communication devices are also restricted in the bill. Excuse me. Indiana legislators defined wireless communication device as any portable, externally wireless device that has the capability to provide voice, messaging, or other data communication between two or more parties. This ban will include things like cell phones, tablets, laptops, and smartwatches, though school-supplied devices remain unaffected. Each school gets to choose how they enforce the new law. Some options include a no-device policy, under which students are not permitted to bring wireless communication devices to school, or a storage policy, under which wireless communication devices may be brought to school, but must be stored away, powered off, and inaccessible to a student throughout the school day. The law becomes effective July 1st, 2026. On the national level, the United States fully entered conflict with Israel against Iran. The operation, dubbed Epic Fury, is being represented by the following video from the White House. Isfahan, Qom, Karaj, and Kermanshah. During this first round of attacks, Iranian leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed within his house of leadership. President Trump claims that the goal of the operation is to control Iranian missile, military, and nuclear capabilities, as well as to achieve a change in regime.
We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death.
You see about any heated conflict between government bodies. Remember to ask yourself, who is making this content? Why are they making it? And why they want you to see it? That's all for news. Back to Maria at the desk.
With the rise in various different diseases, it's important to stay up to date on healthcare and its ever-changing rules, such as the changes in the CDC's vaccination schedule.
With the ever-changing information about vaccines, the CDC has shifted their vaccination schedule as of January 2026 from a recommended 17 vaccines down to 11. With these new changes, parents are concerned with the unknown risk that it can cause, from issues with insurance to spikes in childhood illnesses. Many families are fearful for the safety of their children.
As a first-time parent, I think it's more scary. So with my daughter, I was like, wow, that's a lot of vaccines for my young child to be getting, but it felt excessive at the moment, but then like after it was done, whatever.
It's made it a little bit more difficult in the fact that parents and families are a little bit more hesitant about getting vaccines for their children. They often tell me they don't know who to believe or where to get good medical sources.
The lack of vaccination can cause outbreaks and diseases very easily. With more and more of the population becoming unvaccinated, many illnesses that were previously eradicated can return. This can cause members of the community to be at higher risk for obtaining these illnesses themselves. The elderly, newborn, and those with weaker immune systems could have a high risk of serious complications if they catch these illnesses.
So I'll give you a good example. We don't vaccinate for measles until about 18 months, and my youngest, he's almost 6 months old, and he just started daycare. And I can't vaccinate him yet for that, and so it does concern me that he's around other people that may not be vaccinated, and so he's at higher risk for measles.
I fear that less and less people will be vaccinating themselves and their children, and diseases that have previously been eradicated will reemerge, and these are serious life-threatening diseases, some of which we don't even have cures for.
With many of these questions still unanswered, the general public can only hope not to see extreme repercussions for these changes. With no real way of seeing what can happen in the future, it's recommended to stay home when not feeling well and to make sure you are following good, healthy practices.
Immunizing our children and babies is the top 10. It's the most important thing I do day to day. So I hope that the public will trust the doctors and trust the science that they're safe and effective.
I think my biggest concern is how effective vaccines are if population as a whole is not vaccinating against it. So those can become less effective, which could put individuals who are not vaccinated at risk.
We get our kids the vaccinations that they need. I feel like my kids are protected. So I guess we just hope people respect us and do that back to us.
Since January of 2026, at least 22 million flu cases have been estimated so far, breaking record numbers. 12,000 people have died, and at least 60 of them have been children.
With so many changes happening in our country, the way people view Latino Americans has been changing. With Bad Bunny performing on one of the biggest stages in the U.S. earlier this year, it's important to understand how team mentality is infected by media representation.
In the current age of technology, positive representation in the media helps break stereotypes and opens the door for understanding. When different cultures are shown with authenticity and respect, it encourages young audiences to appreciate diversity rather than fear or misunderstand it.
We have different movies, different shows that portrays the Latino community in a good light. But we also have many instances where especially the news, we see so many bad news regarding the Latino community.
It's very important for young people especially to have a more well-rounded view of what different cultures are like, and not just for students who are Latino or Black, but also for white teens to see those representations and understand cultures who are different from them.
It is pivotal for artists like Bad Bunny to use the global stage, such as the halftime show and the Super Bowl, to highlight Latin cultures in a positive light. This is especially important now, as there are so many negative connotations with those who are part of Latin communities.
The week after the Super Bowl in my classes during advisory, I would be walking around and I would see students maybe watching a piece of the performance or that wanted to talk about it. Social media was just all over all the symbolism and all the different ideas.
That presentation was not only like a show, it was a whole protest. It's a call for identity.
For teenagers, representation helps validate identity, build confidence, and reminds young viewers that everyone's stories deserve to be heard.
If you're seeing a lot of negatives or a lot of stereotypes, that can have a huge negative impact on people, especially when they're younger.
Putting a better light over that community can make you feel more comfortable being a Latino. That's important because you feel more home, you feel comfortable with who you are and don't try to just push it away.
We have to be really intentional about finding those positive stories as well. And that's where it's important that I'm empowering my students to get their voices heard and to care about these issues so that they can make those changes as well.
It is crucial we continue to work on expanding positive views of Latin cultures in our communities as well as around the country to ensure future generations stay educated.
At this year's Winter Olympics.
Also, we'll take a look at the new hire in Columbus East football program.
All that and more on Torch TV.
Messi is obviously the GOAT. It's so obvious.
Yeah, obviously. Ronaldo's better.
Oh my goodness.
Ronaldo's literally the best player.
I'm kind of hungry. I'm gonna leave. See you guys.
Where do you think you're going, freshman?
I'm going off campus for lunch.
Freshmen can't go off campus. You should go back.
Injuries in sports do not only affect the body, but also the mind. The mental health aspect of sports is highly overlooked.
A little bit of a jerk motion to stop her momentum. She looked like she was definitely in some pain.
I think it was right on that first plant. That is never what you want to see. Halliburton's hurt right away when he fell. He's in pain, so emotional.
Injuries happen in sports, a lot actually, but there is something that is always overlooked about them, the mental side. Sure, as a fan of sports teams, it may make you mad, sad, or even helpless depending on who you are. And Indiana sports fans have had it extremely rough this year. The most eye-opening and clarifying response yet has been Tyrese Halliburton's thoughts. He spoke on the injury appearing as a guest on LeBron James's podcast, Mind the Game.
The biggest thing is, like, I really am glad for where I am. I'm thankful for it. The process has sucked, man. Like, you know, there's been good days, bad days. There's days where I sit there and I just keep asking, like, why is this happening to me? It's hard for me to understand in this moment, but I understand that it's allowing me to grow in different ways, to grow in my faith, to grow in all these different ways that have been good for me.
But injuries happen on every level and in almost every single sport. I spoke to former Hanover College and Columbus East quarterback Malachi Parks for his thoughts on the different stuff injured student athletes have to handle and his advice on how to go about it.
You put in so much time to see the success that you had going for yourself, just for it to be taken away in the matter of seconds. You know, student athletes put a lot of time away from their friends, from their families, from their social life to really hone in on a certain skill that they want to be good at. Yeah, I think just having a big support system around you, whether that's, you know, you have your teammates and you have your coaches, but, you know, friends outside of football who you can kind of just distance yourself a little bit from and just realize that there's more to life in an overall scheme of things.
But very few fans think about how the players actually feel. Dr. Shay Fontana, a physician in psychiatry and behavioral medicine, hopped on the Flourish podcast to discuss the real mental effect injuries have on an athlete.
Kind of looking at just, you know, how am I adjusting or coping emotionally now with this and kind of with this information? How do I sit with this? Those emotional responses can kind of range from sadness, social withdrawal, irritability, maybe even anger or frustration at times. Sometimes we can see this increase in maybe fear of re-injury or even just performance-based anxiety about how am I going to perform? Am I even going to return back to that pre-injury status or pre-injury level of performance?
For injured athletes, it may be hard to look beyond your circumstances, but always remember there's going to be better days.
On that note, we head over to Miguel Ferrer with upcoming sports and competitions.
Thanks, Cadyn. Last Friday, the boys varsity basketball team played North in a first-round rivalry matchup of their sectional. Unfortunately, their season came to a close with the final score of 55-43. Congrats on a great season, guys. For anyone interested in trying out for the baseball team, tryouts will be held over spring break from 3:45 to 5:45 on the 16th and 17th. Also, over spring break, the boys and girls varsity track teams will be traveling to the University of Indianapolis to compete in the Red Devil Last Chance SHR qualifier. This will take place on Saturday the 20th, first at 10 a.m. Good luck to all of our Olympian athletes. With the Winter Olympics officially ending, Team USA got second place for the most medals, with Norway coming in first. Team USA got a total of 33 medals, with 12 gold, 12 silver, 9 bronze. Also, a 24-year drought has been broken for the women's figure skating, with Alyssa Liu getting gold since the previous American winner since 2002. Also, 2 locals from Indiana are competing in the Olympics. Nicholas Goper competed in the halfpipe, but sadly got injured and also got 4th place. Also, Danny Aravich, that attended Butler University, will be in the Paralympics. Congrats to Team USA for this year's Olympics. With March now in full motion, the NCAA's men's basketball tournament is getting ready to begin. As of now, experts project the 4 1 seeds to be Duke, Michigan, UConn, and Arizona. However, many other stories are outside of the top 4. As the number 1 team to start the season, Purdue University has dropped drastically from the beginning of the year, with various bracketologists putting them around the 3 and 4 seed. On the other hand, the University of Florida, last year's champions, started their season at 5 wins and 4 losses, but have since broke through, working their way up to a projected 2 seed. Lastly, the only undefeated team in basketball, Miami of Ohio, lost yesterday against UMass, making their chances of the tournament much slimmer, with many claiming that they have played no high-level competition all year. With March Madness coming up, no one is safe. That's all for sports. Now back to Maria at the desk.
New Olympian head football coach Tyler Campbell steps into the job with a decorated resume. He has coached at Jackson State University, Illinois Wesleyan, the Dallas Renegades in the UFL, and more recently as an offensive coordinator for Ben Davis High School in Indianapolis. Coach Campbell looks to reestablish the Olympians as championship contenders.
Our short-term goal right now is start 1-0 and then obviously beat North in week 2. Long-term, this is a school that's won state championships before, so long-term want to get back to compete and win state championships.
Obviously, we want to run first-class programs, and what that means, really provide opportunities for our student athletes to become better athletically, but also better humans as well, teaching them hard work and discipline and commitment.
I think we have to make it so that the players that are in the program already sell it to the people that aren't, right? So, just do the things we can and make it fun for the kids and the players, and then those players will sell it to the kids that maybe are on the fence. And then anybody that I can talk to get them to play football, I do what I can.
And he's done a great job of getting out and meeting the middle school students and, starting to develop some of those relationships.
I want to be a team that plays relentlessly. I want to play fast, play hard, want to be physical. We want teams that play us on Friday night to feel it the next morning when they wake up, like, hey, we just got our butts kicked by the Olympians. But yeah, we play hard, play fast, play tough, and be relentless for 4 quarters.
At the end of the 2025 season, Olympian coach Eddie Vogel resigned from his head coaching position. Stepping in as the new head coach, Tyler Campbell looks forward into making East football into the powerhouse they once were. That's all we have for Twitch TV. From me, Cadyn, Adeline, Remy, Miguel, and Wyatt, and the rest of the Twitch TV crew, I'm Maria Marimoto.
And I'm Cadyn Goodlow. Thanks for watching. Be sure to take care of yourself, others, and the place. And as always, try to be the best part of someone's day.